Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have a new meta in this game. Let's get into it. Now, I know in this space on YouTube, the word meta gets thrown about left, right, and center because it's such a buzzword, but not often does it get used literally as most effective tactic available. Because in this game, that has been the 4-3-2-1 for a substantial amount of time now, especially since the 3 and 5 back ban. However, at the most recent pro tournament, which featured former world champion Umert, rising star Anders Vergang, some of the best pro players in the world who were all running the 4-3-2-1, there was one man who was not using the 4-3-2-1, and that was pro player Johnny, who went on to win the whole thing. He beat every 4-3-2-1 user in that tournament using the 4-4-1-1 with a record of 12 wins, 2 draws, and 0 losses, and honestly never really looked in trouble. Today is going to be a little bit of a longer video, and I'd really appreciate you guys to stick this one out to really kind of hear the nuances of what's going on here. I'll be showing you Johnny's full custom tactics, but also alluding to what he does in-game to actually get the most out of them, and also things he uses on the D-pad as well, because there are certain things he activates on the D-pad which aren't represented in the tactics, which if you don't do, the formation won't work as well. So it's really important that you take those in. But once I've also shown you that and walked you guys through those nuances, I will also show you guys an adapted version of the tactics, which will get the formation playing very much to his style of play without you having to be a pro-level player on the stick. So it'll just be a way to get the tactics doing a bit more of what he does for you. So it will be a longer video because we've got 2 sets of custom tactics to go through, and there's certain nuances we need to take into account. But strap yourselves in, grab a brew, and we'll show you guys the new meta in FC24. So getting into Johnny's custom tactics, he has the defensive style on balance, the defensive width on 39, and the depth on 59. Now, the depth isn't too high, but Johnny is very good at manually doing offside traps via the D-pad. So his depth isn't super high, but it's formatted in a way where he can press. But if he really wants to push his lineup, he does that via the D-pad. So 59 depth is deceiving because he actually can play very aggressive on the defense, but that is how he formats it. The build-up play is balanced. The chance creation is direct passing. No surprises there. The offensive width is 55. Stretching the opponent out, it allows you to switch the ball very effectively because your sort of wide men hog the byline, and it's just a great way to then open up the spaces in the middle. Players in the box is as high as 7. This is mainly due to the fact the formation doesn't have an overlapping wing back. No wing backs are set unbalanced in these tactics, so by having it on 7, it enables you to still be able to bring them into play manually if you want to. Player instructions. We have our lone striker on stay central, getting behind. On a lot of his goals, just having that one striker pushing on the 2 centre-backs enabled him to get in very direct because there was always a threat in behind through the middle. The cam is just on comeback on defence. That's just to help with being more defensively robust, but again, he's relying on himself triggering runs to bring them into the attack more. The left mid and right mid, once again, a big onus on being manual triggering runs here, just on comeback on defence to help with getting numbers back. And then his left centre mid and right centre mid are both stay back while attacking, cover centre. It was very noticeable in game that his centre mids were never out of position. They were always anchors in the midfield. They were never committing into the box. You never really saw them commit any further than the edge of the box, which allowed him to always have a ball from either wing to drop the ball back to. There was always like a safe passing option, but also if the possession did turn over, he was safe. He always had someone to cut up the midfield play. And then the defence is very basic. Stay back while attacking on both wing backs, and the centre backs and goalkeeper are all just on the default. So with the way these are formatted, other than the striker, which he is forcing runs with for counter-attacking opportunities, it's all basically left for him to trigger the runs using L1 passes, using just tapping L1 when pointing in the direction of someone to send them on runs. He's very much leaving it up to his skill on the sticks to create chances on the attack. Now, obviously, it seems like you've only got 4 dedicated attackers, but with that 7 players in the box, he was often bringing particularly his left back into play. Like, watching him, I would have put money on the fact his left back was unbalanced the way he was playing. So even though you've got the wing backs on stay back, utilise your left back as an overlap to create an overload in the attack. The 7 players in the box will allow that wing back to kind of push up a little bit, and you can then sort of use the L1 runs and stuff to send them on their way. So they're not going to be bombing it mindlessly like they do in a 4-3-2-1, but they will push up enough where you can just bring them into play with L1 passes, which is great. The centre mids are still very present on the attack despite being on stay back, again due to that 7 players in the box being on the setup. Something that was very noticeable and definitely worth noting is that his centre mids, both the left centre mid and right centre mid, both had the same 2 playstyle pluses. They both had long ball pass plus and pinged pass plus. Now, maybe because of the tournament restrictions, he was using Schweinsteiger's for birthday and Kimmich, by the way, I should point that out. They may have just been the best 2 options, and by coincidence they have the same 2 playstyle pluses, but I don't think there's much that comes down to coincidence when it comes to pro players in pro tournaments. Everything is generally by design, and I think he just extremely values the fact that both of these stay-back centre mids can send the ball long perfectly and can also do the driven passes into the box very effectively as well. So if you want to get this as optimal as possible, aim for centre mids with long ball and pinged pass plus, and then have a left back that's still capable going forward, just because naturally you still want to be bringing them into your attacks like you would with a 4-3-2-1. So those are the full instructions that Johnny uses with this formation, and those are certain things about certain players that I definitely think make this formation tick the way he gets it playing. So definitely aim for those attributes with the players, definitely aim for the exact same instructions if you want to copy this exactly. However, one thing Johnny does that isn't represented within the custom tactics screen is that he puts his striker on drop back in-game via the D-pad. Now, if you don't know how to do that, once you're in-game and the game's moving, your game's playing, you want to press down on your D-pad, you'll get the pop-up box come up, and then you want to press up on the D-pad to activate striker drop back. Now, once you turn this on, it's on, so you can just do that at the start again, and you haven't got to think about it then, but all it does is it just helps your striker assist on the defense a little bit more. For whatever reason, pros seem to opt to do this rather than putting their striker on comeback on defense. I'm not certain exactly if there is any difference between that and activating it in-game. I guess the perk of activating it in-game is you can turn it off if you want them staying up as an out ball. So that's probably why they do it. But that is something he does, so I would recommend, if you want to emulate this perfectly, to activate striker drop back once you do get in-game. Normally now I'd be showing you guys a little bit of gameplay and closing up the video, but hold on to your horses. Next, we're going to be checking out a second set of custom tactics that is a complete variation on the exact same formation to get it playing more like how Johnny uses it in-game without you having to have his skill on the sticks to get the team moving like he does. So we're going to have the defensive style balance, offensive width 30, just because he's really good at not drawing out his wing backs, so bringing that width down a bit more emulates his defensive shape better. And then I put the depth on 71 because this will give you automatic offside traps. Automatic offside traps generally don't ever happen at times where it completely lets the opponent through, like manual ones can if you get them wrong. So 71 depth takes the onus off of you having to trigger offside traps and just allows the AI to do them at good times for you instead. The build-up player put on slow build-up, the chance creation, direct passing. Direct passing is so you emulate the attacking runs in the attack and you pin the opponent back to create spaces around the edge of the box, like any meta tactic does. However, the build-up player put on slow build-up because what this does is on the build-up itself, it just allows players to be a little bit more available for passes. And this really, really helps you take your time with the build-up, always have options, not feeling like all your options have been cut off and then you're giving the ball away in your own half. Slow build-up makes the actual build-up play a lot easier, and then it enables you to take your time like a pro player does. It just gives you a little bit more assistance from your players to actually be available for passes. Now, pros don't use this because they are comfortable with their build-up play and just picking the correct passes. This will just give you a little bit more assistance in having passes to pick. So slow build-up will just help you emulate that slower, steadier style that pros utilize in competitive play. Offensive width, I brought down a little bit because 55 width can sometimes, like the same reason we put on slow build-up, having a high width can sometimes make it harder to link up the passes. So bringing that width down just kind of caters it to a lower skill player. And when I say lower skill player, I don't mean like people that are rubbish at the game. I mean 14 winning champs or lower standard of play. If you're comfortable 16 plus, then you can probably use the Johnny tactics, no issue, because you're probably utilizing manual offside traps and pressing really well. but most of us aren't that good at the game, so just bringing that depth down a little bit, like the slow build-up, just helps with the build-up in terms of linking up the passes and not giving away the ball. Players in the box, because in this setup I will be using an overlapping wing-back to help bring that wing-back into play, I've just brought the players in the box down by 1, just so we're not over-committing too many players. Corners and free kicks, as always, just go with whatever your personal preference is. Now, before I get into the player instructions, I will say everything in terms of the striker drop back via the D-pad in game, the play styles that you should aim for on players, the style of players you should be going for, this all applies exactly the same in these tactics as well. So aim for long ball pass plus, pinged pass plus on your centre mids, aim for a capable offensive left back. All of those things enable your striker drop back in game to get a little bit more of a robustness with your striker dropping into the midfield as you lose the ball. All of these things, apply that to these tactics as well. So these tactics, we're going to be running with stay central on a striker, no getting behind. Now, you can opt for a getting behind still on this setup if you want to. I just find that lower skill players struggle to pick out their striker when they're always running away. So stay central with no getting behind, I feel caters it to more people, but if you're comfortable with a getting behind, go for it. Your centre attacking midfielder, I've just left completely default. No comeback, just because it's nice to have an out ball on the counter attack. Again, if you're not comfortable with that slower build-up and taking your time. The left midfielder is on comeback on defence and get into the box for cross. This is just to kind of get them a little bit more involved in the attack than Johnny's tactics do. Again, putting less onus on you to make them getting runs into the box. The left centre mid and right centre mid are both stay back while attacking cover centre, same as Johnny's tactics. However, I have put these on stay on edge of the box for cross on both, just to ensure they are not overcommitting into the box. Sometimes, say, if you accidentally triggered an L1 run, your centre mid might go running off into the box, and if you can't call him back with R1 in time, you're in trouble. So stay on the edge of the box for cross just ensures that if you make any mistakes when it comes to triggering runs, they're at least not going to overcommit and go into the box, which we don't want them to do. The right midfielder is on comeback on defence and get into the box for cross, the same as your left midfielder. However, your right mid is also going to be on a cut inside instruction. Because of this formation having an overlapping wing back on the left-hand side, that's generally where most of your attacks are going to be coming from. Same as the way Johnny used it with the stay back wing back, he was still overcommitting, he was still committing his left back a lot, and the attacks were building from that side. So naturally, we're going to be coming in from the left hand side, working across the box, and just having that cut inside on the right mid tucks them in a little bit, makes them a little bit more of like a right winger, right forward, and just gets them involved in that back post a little bit more. It's just quite easy to work it across the box and have them more involved. Sometimes they can be a little bit too wide in this formation as you work it across, so I just found that the cut inside instruction helped get that sort of fifth man, the overload, involved on goal more centrally. Your right back is stay back while attacking, same as Johnny's tactics, and then the left back is balanced overlap, not stay back while attacking. And again, like I mentioned earlier, it's just to help that left back get involved more without you having to really consciously bring them in. It takes less onus of you having to trigger runs. However, the one thing you have to bear in mind is they are unbalanced, so they're going to commit pretty much regardless. So consciously use your left back so that you're not getting caught out at the back. If you really struggle with that left back sort of committing and you find you're getting opened up too much, then go for the stay back while attacking like on Johnny's tactics. But in terms of creating, for those of you that aren't really comfortable with all the manual onus on yourself creating runs and such, balanced overlap is going to help you a ton. Centre backs and goalkeeper are all just the default, exactly the same as Johnny's. For the last couple of minutes, I'm just going to show you guys a little bit of gameplay here. I'm showing you guys the second set of custom tactics here for the goals, just so you get a feel for how much that the team's AI can do for you when you format it in this way. Like I say, even if you're using Johnny's tactics, you are basically wanting the team to play like how these clips show anyway. There's just more onus on you to trigger the runs. The advantage for you having to trigger and do everything is that no one will commit if you don't want them to, so you get a little bit more of a defensive robustness, a defensive safety, because if you don't want your wing back to commit, they won't commit. If you don't want your right mid to cut inside and you want him covering the wide areas, he will. So basically, his tactics ensure nothing happens that he doesn't want to, whereas the ones I've put together kind of makes the team play in a certain way. However, for those of you that struggle with doing a lot yourselves on the sticks, it's going to be doing a lot for you. It's going to feel like your team is just flying and just literally just playing for you in a weird way. If you did make it this far in the video though, guys, as always, I really appreciate your time. If you did enjoy it, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and turn your bell on. Take care, guys.